She laughed when I opened the ring box and told me her ex would have bought the bigger one. I didn't argue. I quietly took the ring back, paid the bill, walked out alone, and ended a 3-year relationship before dessert even hit the table. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. For a long time, I thought I was dating the kind of woman who just had high standards. The kind who knew what she wanted, who pushed herself, who refused to settle. I admired that about her. I told myself it was a good thing. It meant she had ambition. It meant she had taste. It meant she had a future. What it actually meant was that nothing I did would ever be enough, because I was never being compared to an ordinary guy. I was being compared to a lifestyle she used to have, and a man she never really let go of. My name is Ethan. I'm the dependable type. I work as a safety and compliance coordinator for a regional freight company. It's not glamorous. Nobody claps for you in a room when you do your job well. Your reward is that disasters don't happen and people go home alive. I drive a paid-off truck with a couple dents in the bumper. I buy my clothes on sale. I pack my lunches most days. I put money into retirement like I'm trying to outrun the future. I plan. I save. I fix things myself instead of paying someone to do it. And that's exactly why I made sense to her at first. Sophia was the opposite of me. Sophia was brightness and motion. She worked in luxury marketing, which basically meant she spent her days producing perfection for other people. She could make a mediocre brand feel expensive just by standing next to it. She had that ability. She also had the kind of looks that made people pause in grocery store aisles and pretend they were checking their phones so they could keep staring. We met at a friend's birthday dinner. She laughed too loud, asked too many questions, touched my arm when she talked like she'd known me for years. She made me feel chosen. When we started dating, it felt like I'd finally gotten lucky in a way I didn't deserve. She liked that I was steady. She said it was calming. She said being with me felt safe. I didn't realize back then that safe was another word for useful. After a year, we moved in together. Her idea. She wanted a downtown building with a lobby that smelled like expensive candles, a rooftop lounge, a gym that looked like a spa, and a view that made her Instagram stories look like she was living a movie. I told her it was too much. I told her it would stretch me thin. She kissed my cheek, promised she'd help, said her job was about to take off, said we'd split everything. We didn't split anything. The rent was $2,650. Then there were utilities, parking fees, internet, the endless small charges that come with looking like you're doing great. Somehow, every month, her half disappeared into the air. Her money went to lashes, hair appointments, and a wardrobe that changed faster than the seasons. Pilates classes, brunches, products with fancy labels, work dinners that always somehow ended up being at places where the menu didn't list prices. Meanwhile, I was covering the boring survival stuff. Because I was covering it, she could pretend she was rich. And when a woman starts living like she's rich while someone else quietly pays the foundation, she doesn't feel grateful. She feels entitled. The comparison started small, almost playful, like she didn't mean anything by it. Her favorite was talking about her ex. His name was Damien. Damien was a tech consultant who talked loud in public and wore watches that looked like small cars. He drove a sleek black car that always smelled new. He knew bartenders by name. He flashed smiles like he was doing you a favor by existing. Sophia said he was toxic. She said he was emotionally distant. She said he treated her like an accessory. She said she left because she finally chose peace. But she never stopped bringing him up. Damien used to fly me out last minute, she'd say, while I was packing a cooler for a weekend road trip. Damien never made me wait in lines, she'd mutter when we had to stand 20 minutes for a table. Damien always knew the owner. She'd sigh when a hostess asked us to wait. At first, I let it slide. I told myself she was just venting. I told myself she was with me because she wanted something real, not something flashy. I convinced myself that eventually she'd relax into our life and appreciate the stability I offered. Then something happened that should have made me walk away earlier. It was late fall. She had insisted on buying a used Mercedes a few months into living together because she said her image mattered for her job. I warned her about the mileage. I warned her the repairs would be brutal. She rolled her eyes, told me I worried too much, told me it was an investment. The first big repair came fast. One morning she called me crying from a parking lot. The car wouldn't start. She'd had it towed to a shop. They quoted her $2,100. She didn't have it. Not because she didn't earn money, because her money was already spent the moment she got it. She sat at our kitchen counter in an oversized hoodie, mascara smudged like she'd been dragged through a storm. She shoved the invoice at me like it was a personal betrayal. "This is insane," she said. "This is so unfair. Why is everything so expensive?" I stared at the number and felt my stomach tighten. That was a real chunk of money. That was rent-level money. That was the kind of money you feel for weeks. I went quiet, opened my banking app, and moved funds around like a guy trying to patch a leak on a sinking boat. "I'll handle it," I said. She didn't say thank you. She watched me do it, then glanced away like it was expected. Then she hit me with the line I should have taken as my exit sign. "When I had car trouble with Damien," she said, "he literally replaced my car the next day. He didn't act like I was a burden." I froze with my phone in my hand. I waited for her to smile after it, like it was a joke. Like she didn't mean it. Like she was being dramatic. But she wasn't joking. She was irritated. Like my help wasn't the right kind of help. "Sophia," I said carefully, "Damien isn't here." She shrugged. "I know, I'm just saying, it's stressful being with someone who counts every dollar." I remember this weird heat moving up my neck. Not anger yet, more like humiliation. I was covering our life, I was bailing her out, and she was acting like I was cheap for having limits. I should have ended it right there. I should have said, "Fine, call Damien." I should have stopped funding the illusion. But I didn't. Because I had a plan. I was going to propose. I'd been thinking about it for months, not because she pressured me directly, but because I thought commitment would stabilize us. I thought a ring would make her feel secure. I thought if she felt chosen permanently, she'd stop looking backward. So instead of backing away, I doubled down. I picked up overtime. I stopped buying little things for myself. I skipped weekends with friends. I canceled my gym membership and started running outside. I sold an old guitar I never used anymore. I funneled everything into one goal. I was going to buy a ring that proved I was enough. Engagement ring shopping is a psychological trap for regular men. You walk into places with soft lighting and velvet trays and people who speak in a calm voice designed to make you feel embarrassed about your budget. I didn't want debt. I refused to start a marriage on payments. So I focused on getting a stone that was beautiful without being absurd. I found a 1.1 carat diamond. Not massive, but clear, bright, perfect cut. It caught light like it was alive. I had it placed in a simple, elegant band. Classic, timeless. It cost me $7,900. That number sat in my head like a weight. Nearly all my savings that weren't tied up in retirement. But I told myself it was worth it. I planned the night carefully. Sophia loved expensive places. So I booked a rooftop restaurant in the city called Vesper House, the kind of spot with dim lighting, leather seats, and people who talk like they're trying not to be overheard. I wore my best suit. I even got a haircut during lunch break that day. She showed up in a red dress that made every guy in the room glance her way. She kissed me, smiled, and for a moment I felt hopeful again. Then the complaining started. The table was too close to the bar. The music was too loud. The wine list didn't have the exact bottle she liked. Halfway through dinner, she mentioned Damien again. He used to love places like this," she said, swirling her glass. "We came here after he closed that big deal." I felt my jaw tighten. I told myself to stay focused. One night, one ring, one step forward. After tonight, the comparisons would stop. When dessert came, I couldn't wait any longer. My heart was pounding so hard it made my hands feel numb. I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out the small box, and placed it on the table between us. "Sophia," I said, my voice quieter than I intended. She looked down at it, then back at me. Her eyes widened. Her mouth parted slightly. For half a second, I thought I'd done it. I thought this would be the moment she softened, the moment her face changed, the moment she looked at me like I mattered. I opened the box. The diamond caught the light. It sparkled against the dark velvet like a clean promise. Sophia stared. 1 second. 2 seconds. She didn't gasp. She didn't reach for me. She didn't smile. She leaned closer, tilting her head like she was evaluating a product. "It's," she said, dragging the word out. My stomach dropped. "It's what?" I asked. She gave a small laugh, like she didn't want to sound cruel but couldn't help herself. "It's cute," she said. "It's just small." The sound around us blurred. I could hear my own breathing. "Small?" I repeated, like my brain couldn't process it. She nodded, holding her hand up in front of her face, studying her fingers. "Look at my hands," she said. "I have long fingers. It's going to look tiny on me." I felt my throat tighten. "I saved for months for that ring," I said. "It's a really high-quality stone." She exhaled slowly, the way someone does when they're trying to tolerate an inconvenient conversation. "I know," she said. "You work hard. I get it." Then she hit me with the line that ended everything. "My ex would have bought me the diamond one," she said. "Like the real one, not whatever this is." I didn't move. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. Something in me didn't break loudly. It failed quietly, like a support beam snapping inside a wall. In that moment, the entire 3 years lined up in my head like evidence. The way she never thanked me when I paid for things. The way she acted like basic stability was boring. The way she treated my limits like a personal offense. The way she used Damien's name like a measuring stick. I looked at her and I didn't see my girlfriend anymore. I saw a person who had been using me as a stepping stone, waiting for a better option. I felt strangely calm. "You're right," I said. Sophia blinked. "What?" "You're right," I repeated. "You deserve that experience. The big ring, the luxury, the guy who throws money at problems." Relief washed over her face so fast it was almost insulting. "I knew you'd understand," she said quickly. "We can return it and upgrade. Maybe finance something bigger. It's normal. Plenty of couples do that." I closed the ring box gently, not angrily, not dramatically, just done. "No," I said. Her smile flickered. "No what?" "No upgrade," I said. "No payments, no us." She stared at me like I was speaking another language. "Ethan, stop," she said, laughing once like it was a joke. "Don't be dramatic." I stood up. The chair scraped against the floor, loud enough that the couple at the next table glanced over. Sophia reached out and grabbed my wrist. "Wait," she hissed. "You're leaving me here? We came together." I looked down at her hand on my arm. Her nails were freshly done, perfect, like everything else she kept polished. "Call your ex," I said. Her eyes widened with shock. "Are you serious?" "Yes," I said simply, and pulled my arm free. I walked away from the table without looking back. I made it to the elevator before my hands started shaking. By the time I reached the parking garage, my phone was already vibrating. She was calling, again and again. I didn't answer. I drove home in silence, the city lights sliding past like I was leaving a life that never belonged to me. When I got to the apartment, I didn't scream. I didn't punch a wall. I didn't collapse on the couch. I moved like a guy handling a job. I packed a suitcase, clothes, toiletries, my laptop. I grabbed my documents from the small safe in the closet. I took my keys off the hook and set hers on the counter. I looked around the apartment, at the furniture I'd paid for, the kitchen supplies I'd stocked, the art she'd picked out, the expensive candles that always smelled like someone else's life. I left a note on the counter. "Sophia, you wanted the upgrade. Go get it. Do not contact me again." Then I walked out. I checked into a simple hotel near the highway. Nothing fancy, clean sheets, quiet. I turned my phone off and slept harder than I had in months. The next morning, I woke up early. The jewelry store opened at 9. I was there before the doors unlocked. When the associate saw me, she smiled warmly. "Oh," she said. "Back already? Resizing?" I placed the box on the counter. "I need to return it." Her smile faded. "Oh," she said softly. "I'm sorry." She didn't say no, I said. She said it was too small, and that her ex would have bought her a bigger one. The associate's expression shifted from pity to understanding. She nodded like she'd heard this story before. "We can process the return," she said carefully. "But because the setting was custom, there's a fee, 15%. I did the math immediately. 15% of $7,900 was $1,185. That was painful. That was real money. But it also felt like freedom. "Do it," I said. She hesitated. "Are you sure? You could exchange it for store credit." "I don't want store credit," I said. "I want closure." She processed it. When I walked out with the refund pending in my account, I didn't feel like I'd lost money. I felt like I'd paid a fee to get my life back. I sat in my truck and turned my phone on. The notifications hit like a wave. Missed calls, texts, voicemails. I opened a few messages, just enough to see the pattern. "Why are you doing this? You embarrassed me. I didn't mean it like that. Please come back. It's not about the ring. I love you." I didn't respond. Not at first. I drove to work. I sat at my desk. I stared at the computer screen without seeing it. Around lunch, I finally wrote one message. I returned the ring. "I'm taking my name off the lease. You have 30 days to figure out your situation. Do not contact me again." Her reply came instantly. "You're insane," she wrote. "You're throwing away 3 years because you're insecure." Then the final poison line. "Damien would never act like this. He wouldn't run away like a coward." I stared at the screen and felt something cold settle in me. Even now, she was still using him as a weapon. So I sent one last message. "If he's so perfect, tell him you're single. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to pay your rent." Then I blocked her number, blocked her on social media, blocked her friends, cut the line clean. The next few weeks were brutal, but in a quiet way. I worked. I moved my things out when I knew she wouldn't be home. I took the couch I paid for, the television, the kitchen appliances, the bed frame. Everything I bought stayed with me. When Sophia walked into that apartment after work one day, she walked into the reality she'd been avoiding. An empty living room, bare walls, no comfort, no safety net. I heard about it through mutual friends, how she cried, how she called me heartless, how she posted vague quotes online about men who punish women for being emotional. I didn't respond. Because I wasn't punishing her. I was finally respecting myself. A month after the breakup, my bank account looked different. Not because I got a raise, because I wasn't funding someone else's fantasy. I wasn't paying for constant beauty appointments. I wasn't covering extra dinners. I wasn't trying to keep up with the lifestyle that was never mine. I felt lighter, more like myself. I started going to the gym again. I reconnected with friends I'd stopped seeing because Sophia thought they were beneath her. I bought myself new tires without feeling guilt. I fixed up my new place. I slept better. Then the consequences started to catch up with her. Sophia made decent money on paper, but she spent like she was being sponsored. Without me paying the foundation, the numbers didn't work. The downtown lease was in my name. The utilities were in my name. The parking contract was in my name. When I removed myself, the building didn't care about her confidence. They cared about the payment. She had to scramble, and eventually, she did what she always threatened without realizing it. She called Damien. I didn't hear it from her. I heard it from the same people who always seem to know when someone's life is collapsing. Apparently, she went to him with a story about how I was controlling, about how I was jealous, about how I couldn't handle her standards. Damien didn't become her hero. He didn't propose. He didn't offer her a shiny new life. He offered her exactly what he always offered: late-night attention, a place to visit, a place to leave. She posted a photo of his balcony view one night with a caption about being back where she belonged, but she didn't move in. 2 weeks later, she was still trying to sell handbags online and begging coworkers to cover her shift because she needed overtime. The fantasy was collapsing. And once she realized Damien wasn't a rescue plan, she tried to rebuild the bridge she burned. That's when the emails started. She couldn't text me, couldn't call me, couldn't message me, so she emailed my work account. The first one was soft. "Hey, I know you blocked me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I've been thinking a lot. I miss the boring days. Can we just talk?" I deleted it. The second one came a few days later. "My car is acting up again. The quote is $1,600. I don't know who else to ask. You always knew how to handle this stuff. I'm scared." That's when I understood something clearly. She wasn't missing me. She was missing the infrastructure. She missed the guy who handled the ugly parts of adulthood, the guy who did the math, the guy who kept things working behind the scenes so she could pretend life was effortless. I deleted that email too. Then she escalated. She started showing up in places she knew I went. I saw her once at a grocery store near my old place. Sweatpants, messy hair, tired eyes, not the curated mess she posted online. Real exhaustion. I walked out the other exit. Another time, I spotted her car outside my gym, idling like she'd been waiting. I turned around and drove to a different location. I wasn't scared of her. I just refused to let her pull me back into the role she wanted me to play. Around that time, I started seeing someone new. Her name was Paige. She was a medical assistant. She drove a practical car. She paid her own bills. When I took her out, she thanked me. When she needed help, she asked like an adult, not like someone entitled to it. It felt normal in a way I hadn't realized I'd been starving for. I didn't post her online. I didn't make it a statement. I just lived my life. And then Sophia found me anyway. It happened at a networking event downtown, a rooftop mixer for local professionals, the kind of place Sophia used to love because everyone looked polished and important. I was there with Paige, nothing flashy, just a simple evening, a drink in my hand, a conversation with a coworker. Then I felt someone grab my arm. Hard. I turned and saw Sophia. Her face was thinner. Her dress looked like it had been pulled from the back of a closet. Her eyes were too bright, desperate in a way that made people uncomfortable. "Can we talk?" she said. It wasn't a question. It was a demand. Paige looked between us, read the situation instantly, and stepped away without drama. That alone made me realize how far I'd come. Sophia stepped closer. Her voice shook. "You blocked me everywhere," she whispered. "I have no way to reach you." "That was the point," I said. Her mouth trembled. "Ethan, I made a mistake." I stared at her and felt nothing. No anger, no ache, just distance. "You didn't make a mistake," I said. "You made a choice." She swallowed hard. "Damien is a monster. He used me. He treated me like I was nothing." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, and even my voice surprised me. It sounded calm. It sounded final. "But that isn't my problem." Her face twisted like she couldn't believe I'd say it. "How can you be so cold?" she hissed. "We were together for 3 years." "I wasn't your partner," I said quietly. "I was your plan B." She flinched. I leaned in just enough for her to hear me over the music. "You looked at my ring and saw a downgrade," I said. "You looked at my love and saw a price tag." Tears filled her eyes instantly. "I didn't mean it," she pleaded. "I was stressed. I was just trying to be honest. Please, just take me back. I'll be better. I don't care about diamonds anymore. I just want you. I want my safe place back." There it was, safe place. Not love, not respect, safety. I stepped back. "You don't miss me," I said. "You miss what I did for you." She shook her head wildly, like if she denied it hard enough it would become untrue. No, that's not it." "It is," I cut her off, "and I'm not doing it anymore." She tried to grab my hand again. I moved out of reach. "Go home, Sophia," I said. "Figure it out. You're an adult." Her lips parted, and for a second she looked like she was going to scream. Instead, she just stood there, shaking. I turned away and walked back to Paige. Paige looked at me with a calm expression and asked quietly, "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "I just closed an old account." We left the party early. We drove home in silence. Not heavy silence, peaceful silence. And when I got into my apartment that night, I thought about the ring, about the money, about that restocking fee that still stung when I remembered it. But it didn't feel like a loss anymore. It felt like the cost of self-respect. And it was the best money I ever spent. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.